Thanks, Brian. According to data from the OPP, there were 57 motorcycle-related deaths in 2024, which was a 20-year high. This clearly highlights the importance of motorcycle insurance. So here with more is disability and injury lawyer Nainesh Kotak. Nainesh, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
We're seeing more and more people on motorcycles and clearly more and more motorcycle-related crashes. Why is this happening?
Yeah, sure, there are more people riding motorcycles, but what we're seeing is most of the time, it's the fault of a motorist. We all think, okay, the motorcyclists are out there weaving, going too quickly. That's not generally the case. From what we're seeing, it is the inattentiveness of other drivers who make a left-hand turn in front of them or merge into their lane, and also that combined with construction, lane reductions,
right.
People sort of moving in and out, and the motorcyclists get squeezed out. And unfortunately, what we see is really horrific injuries, head injuries, brain injuries, orthopedic injuries, knee fractures that have devastating and life-altering effect on the motorcyclists as well as their family.
Right. So you're seeing more and more people saying, hey, I've been in a collision, I need some help.
Absolutely, and there are a couple of remedies available to those who are, if you're a cyclist or motorcyclist and you've been injured in an accident. We have a two-tier compensation scheme in Ontario. The first is through no-fault benefits, and that you can get income replacement benefits up to $400 a week. It's based on 70% of your gross, but there's a cap on that unless you purchase more. You can get attendant care, which someone injured in that way will need, and medical rehabilitation up to $65,000. But if the injuries are deemed legally catastrophic, and there's particular tests that need to be met for that, you can have up to $1 million of medical rehab and attendant care benefits. So that goes very quickly for someone, for example, who has serious injuries. They become a quadriplegic, for example. That gets exhausted actually very fast. The other remedy that they have is suing the driver at fault. If they can prove their injuries are permanent and serious, they can get money for pain and suffering, subject to a I think it's found $47,000 deductible now for that. But they can claim for their income loss as well. So there are some insurance remedies. In July of 2026, the benefits are going to become more optional. In other words, if you want to have income replacement benefits, you have to say, I want that, and have it part of your policy.
Okay.
Same for funeral benefits as well. And I think, those who are motorcyclists, there's a good chance if you're in an accident, you're going to have, more severe than if you're in a car in terms of injuries. So make sure you ask your broker that, hey, I want to make sure I have that full coverage, because the last thing you need is, those benefits certainly not being available to you if you're hurt.
So you have to opt into those. They won't come automatically. Yeah,
that's right. So what's happening effective July 1st, and I think it hits those who are changing policies. If there's a renewal of a policy, they may remain. That's up in the air right now, the way the legislation has been drafted. But the intention behind the legislation is that you would opt in. And the purpose of that is to allegedly save money for our drivers out there. But we've seen what happens. Non-stop insurance cuts, but the premiums still actually go up. So I don't have a full faith that that's going to serve its purpose. But I would say this. I would recommend, look, if you're working and you don't have any other coverage, make sure you have those income replacement benefits if you're injured, so that you can have some ability to pay your bills.
Got about 40 seconds or so,
Sure.
30 seconds actually. E-scooters, e-bikes in the same category?
No, they're not.
Okay.
So I'll hit into e-bikes. I spoke about this a lot, of e-scooters as well. E-scooters, you don't need insurance. So and they're technically not legal unless there's a pilot project at play. I think Toronto didn't do it. Hamilton did do it. So the problem with that is, they get on. You see these guys whizzing around on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
If they get hurt, they don't have insurance coverage. They better hope that maybe there's a motor vehicle involved that does have coverage, because they may not. And the poor pedestrian who gets hit by the e-scooter doesn't have insurance coverage there either. Yeah. So there are a lot of loopholes when it comes to e-scooters and e-bikes.
If you do have questions, contact Kotak Law. All the links on our website, chch.com/morninglive. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.